All right, well, thank you. Dr. Golumbusky and myself, I'm Wilbur Chen. We're going to try to present a slideshow presentation to kind of give an overview of the K12 RFA for the Mentored Career Development Awards. And then we'll try to save some critical time so that you can have some question and answers. Okay, so first let me go ahead and see if I can share my slides successfully. Uh, Hopefully you're looking at my slides right now. Good.
Yes, this looks
All
good.
right.
Yeah.
So let's see. Let's go to the next slide. So the leadership for this K12 program is split between Dr. Golumbusky and myself. We also have an associate director who unfortunately couldn't make it to today's session, but that's Grazi Khalil. And then we have the director of the ICTR, the Institute for Clinical and Translational Research, led by Dr. Stephen Davis, who oversees this. And that's kind of the umbrella organization under which our program runs. So the mission of this program is to develop future leaders in clinical and translational research. And so we want you to be trained in research design and methodology. We want to inculcate the ability to work collaboratively with your colleagues in all different disciplines, and it's to generate new knowledge. And of course, the ultimate mission is to improve health. We're trying to provide individuals who are selected with rigorous didactic training that will lead to an advanced degree or a certificate, help to develop and execute a research project of their own, to also provide mentorship in an interdisciplinary way that's collaborative. And of course, all of these are career development activities that are going to be important for you to grow. So the program organization is actually run in partnership with Johns Hopkins University. So it is a JHU kind of University of Maryland, Baltimore joint program. And again, the mission is to advance and integrate clinical and translational research activities and training opportunities. We want to fund and help support career development for didactic training, and also have just kind of a supportive environment for mentorship. So this program leadership, works collaboratively in the background, just knowing that we offer kind of didactic training, monthly grants in progress, in which you would perhaps be selected to present. There are seminars that are provided for the scholars. There's a yearly retreat, which we just had last week. And basically, we try to have topical kind of things that are discussed during the seminars, but also the retreat itself. Last week was artificial intelligence. And again, it's to help you grow as a academic clinician scientist. So there is support that's provided by this program. This year, the intramural funding, the ICTR, is providing $15,000 for each year that you're supported. For the cost of your research, tuition fees, and travel. Now, you also have to have departmental, division level, school level support for you to protect your time and to provide your salary. And it's between 50 to 75%. Now, 75% is the standard. 50% is the exception that is given to some of the clinical disciplines that require a lot of clinical time. So that might be, for example, surgeons who have to be in the OR a lot. And so 25% clinical time is not sufficient for them to keep up their clinical activities. So the exception is really 50% for those types of individuals. And you would have to kind of negotiate that specifically with, again, your division, your department, your school. And again, just keep in mind, most people are having to find that the 75% levels of support, okay? And you want to have this kind of support provided over the 3 years. That is the commitment and requirement for this K award. Your tuition for kind of the didactic training that you would describe is going to be supported under the K12 award will cover the course fees. Now, those of you that might be not at UMB, but UMBC, this program is being offered to you for the first time this year. So we're very excited because we devised this program to actually be something available for faculty members across the sister universities, which means College Park, Baltimore, Baltimore County, etc. So Baltimore County, you get to join us this year. We would like you to directly contact the VP of Research, Dr. Carl Steiner, to discuss these funding requirements because they might be a little bit different at UMBC than they are at UMB. So I'm primarily talking about UMB, this support from your department, school, providing the protected time and whatever else. That actually might be a little bit different, but it is generally that 75%. You still have to get that support, but there are other supports that perhaps are available, and I want you to be able to go directly to Dr. Steiner. Okay, so the K-12 scholars, this is meant to be an internal mechanism to help you transition from, say, a postdoc or your graduate, your PhD, and to go into independence. And it's difficult. So this K program is meant to help you to either transition you to your own individual NIH K award or to your own R01 or equivalent award, okay, that independence. So, this K-12 is internal. Well, we expect that you would perhaps submit your individual mentored K award, which might be a K07, K08, K22, or K23. There's also a K01 mechanism, I think, that also would be applicable as well. These are all independent awards that would be for you. All right, so K-12 eligibility. For this program, you must be a full-time faculty member, junior faculty. You can't be associate or higher. You must be within 5 years of your appointment to your particular school. It must be one of the, and I'm mostly talking about UMB, one of the health professional programs on our campus. UMBC, certainly we want you to be health aligned, but there might be slightly different things. So it's not limited to MDs, MBBS, DO, DDS, PhD, PharmD, JD, PsyD, and DPHs. So epidemiologists, behavioral scientists, nurses with clinically relevant doctoral level degrees are eligible. Postdoctoral fellows with a pending faculty appointment are also eligible. The faculty appointment cannot be contingent upon receiving the K-12 award. So in other words, you have to have your letter of support be a strong letter of support and not say, oh, well, we will have this person as a faculty member if they get this award. That would not allow you to be eligible for this program. You also must be a US citizen or a permanent resident or a non-resident national status at the time the application is being submitted. Okay, I already mentioned, but you need to have that level of support to be eligible, 50 to 75%. That is described by your division and departmental letter of support. You have to have a commitment to a career that's focused on clinical investigation, on research. You have to also commit to additional training, that's that didactic training, that either would allow you to have an advanced degree like a master's or perhaps a certificate degree. You should have at least one UMB or UMBC, I guess, mentor, preferably in an interdisciplinary team of mentors that you would select. And you potentially could also have a Johns Hopkins University faculty mentor as well as part of your mentoring. So you need to describe a mentoring committee as part of your application. All right. You also cannot have been a PI of an R01. So that would be too advanced to get this, to be able to apply for this program. You also cannot have been a program project PI for a U series grant, like a U19, where again, the U19 is like 3 R01s put together. And if you were the program project director of one of the projects within a U19, then you would also not be eligible, unfortunately. But if you did have an R03, a small size grant, or an R21, and were a PI, then that would be okay. You would still be eligible for this K12 program. You must not have also had an NIH K series award previously. Now, if you had submitted an application to a prior cycle of the K12 and previously was called the KL2, then it is okay. You may resubmit an application. Of course, you would probably want to rewrite it and see if you could make it better as a more compelling argument, but you would still meet eligibility requirements. It doesn't matter if you submitted a prior application. There are research areas. I'm trying to see how I'm doing. The types of research that are supported, it should be research conducted with human subjects or materials of human origin, in which the investigator, you interact with humans. Again, this is supposed to be kind of clinical research. So examples would be patient-oriented research, epidemiology and behavioral studies, outcomes research, health services research, comparative effectiveness. What's not supported is if the project is only in the laboratory using de-identified banked or human tissues in which you have no connection to humans. And the features of this training experience, you get protected time for your research and career development. You have tuition through tuition remission and research support. You are able to obtain structured didactic training, practical hands-on training as well in the design, conduct, and analysis of your clinical research. You also get mentorship, interdisciplinary mentorship. And you also will be required, again, to engage in other career development activities, which are those monthly seminars, the grants in progress, the ICTR enrichment seminar series, and yearly retreats. There's also an annual national meeting called the Translational Science Annual Meeting, and that's happening in April, I think, of this year. And so as a scholar, you would also be required to go to that. And that should be a fun event as well, where you're meeting with other national scholars. You also get biostatistical support. So the ICTR K12 educational program overview is expected to support you for 3 years. During the first 6 months, we expect that you'll be covering foundational curricula. In the second 6 months of the first year, you'll start doing some other optional or project-specific coursework. And throughout the entire 3 years, you'll be doing your research. We expect that, and I think this is critical, is that you would be in position by the end of the second year to submit your own individual grant, your K grant. And that's timed because if you don't get awarded the first time, which is rare, but happens, that you have enough time for you to repolish up your grant and resubmit so that by the end of the third year, you would be able to transition onto your own independent grant. So that's kind of the idea of why we have at the end of year 2 that you should be planning to submit your own individual grant so that you have time again for resubmission. I think right now I'll hand off to Aaron to take the rest of the slides. Should I stop sharing or should I just keep going on and just go ahead and advance when you tell me?
Yeah, you'll keep it on your screen, Wilbur, and if you don't mind advancing at the end of each. So we can head to the next slide. So the expectations, as we've described, is that you're completing this didactic coursework that's leading to an advanced degree, a master's degree, or a certificate is mostly what our scholars are pursuing here. The certificates are post-baccalaureate certificates. Many of them are about 12 credits. Master's degrees are about 30 credits. And the submission of the K23, again, is by the end of the second year. But if you come in and you have, you're prepared to submit that earlier, we strongly encourage you to do that and provide the support that you need to do so. As we mentioned earlier, there's participation for our scholars to present. There's an opportunity for our scholars to present at that annual meeting, Clinical and Translational Science. And this year, that meeting is in April, mid-April in Washington, D.C. And we do keep pretty good track of our scholars with annual progress reports and input from your mentors as well. And we have expectations for the mentors too. Perhaps there are some mentors on here exploring this opportunity for their mentees. And we expect there to be meetings every 2 weeks between the mentor and the mentees, providing regular feedback, and especially regarding career development, grant submissions, and things like that. And they do submit reports to us, and we do meet with the mentors occasionally. They will attend the grant in progress presentation and participate in the mentor skill development workshop. And that's offered through the School of Medicine here at UMB. So again, we do keep close track of our scholars with evaluations, and those include a biannual evaluation, IDPs, and the opportunities to present. So this is just a timeline of that work that I mentioned earlier. So this is a collaboration with Johns Hopkins K12 programs, and we offer joint seminars between the two campuses. The grants in progress workshops include scholars from Hopkins, UMB, and Columbia. There's also a number of writing accountability groups both at UMB and Hopkins that you'd be encouraged to participate in to refine your grant or also work on manuscripts as well. There's a roundtable review of specific aims at during the grant writing process. And again, we attend that meeting jointly. And I know that this year we're planning to have a joint dinner so that there's opportunities for scholars to meet each other. At the leadership level, Dr. Chen and I meet with the team from Hopkins to discuss the progress of the overall grant. And we develop some survey tools and things like that to track scholar performance and mentoring. And there's a visiting scholars program with other CTSA institutions. So the K12 applicants are submitting the K12 application and a graduate school application concurrently. So that, just as an example, if you were pursuing a Master of Science in Epidemiology and Clinical Research, you would be submitting that application to be a graduate student at the same time that you're submitting your K12. And we can also accommodate students who've already had training, who might already have an MPH or an MHS. And if we usually take a look at their desired goals and create a personalized curriculum for them, as well as selecting specific coursework, seminars, boot camps, workshops, conferences, and things like that, that might be relevant. And that can be approved on an individual basis by the leadership team. So our application process is to determine your eligibility, which you've heard a bit about, the application process, and then selection process. So the application is due St. Patrick's Day, March 17th. Perhaps that'll be easy to remember. It's a web-based application process. You can, there's a link both in the email that went out to the ICTR website, and UMBC applicants can request a way to link into that. The cover letter, personal statement, which is due 3 pages, research plan, and your plans for advanced training. So is that an MS? Is that a post-baccalaureate certificate? Or is there an individual training plan you would like to pursue? And why those are relevant to your project. On your application, we'll need to see your CV, including a full list of publications, your current and past grant support, again, with that eligibility criteria of exclusionary grants like an R01, and those that are acceptable. You'll have a nomination letter written by your current mentor and the department chair or perhaps division director, depending on what department you're in. And all of the materials are going to the ICT Navigator web address no later than that St. Patrick's Day, March 17th deadline. Your mentor's bio sketch is also included, and you'll need 2 letters of recommendation as well. There is a form for that, so you'll enter their contact information. And we'd like unofficial transcripts from all degree granting academic institutions. So those can usually be downloaded through the student portal. You don't have to request the official one through their registrar's office. So we'll be accepting applications through March 17th. There's a review process, an internal review process, which the final candidate interviews and official selection and award by mid-June. And again, this is open to US citizens or permanent residents. We're looking for folks who have already had that clinical degree, and UMB or UMB, full-time faculty appointments, less than 5 years on faculty. So this is putting together your application. The call for applications is out. You'll be meeting with your mentor as a first step, talking to that division chief or department chair. The online application process for the K12 is open, and then you'll complete the concurrent application to the graduate school to that master's or post-baccalaureate certificate. And we'll be screening eligibility criteria as well. During the selection process, there's going to be a selection committee that reviews all the applications and conducts the interviews with the final selection of candidates. And we expect this to be a competitive process. So here's the link for the website. I'm going to put that in the chat as we're answering Q&A, so you have that at your fingertips. And Dr. Grassi Khalil is the associate director who can answer questions. She's been doing this for a long time and has a lot of expertise. And we will weigh in if necessary, but she's very good at answering questions from potential scholars.
All right, that was the end of it, I think.
Right, so I'm going to put some of those links in the chat and open it up for questions. We also have some of the other team members here to answer questions, so we'll do our best. And if you have something that we can't answer, we'll reach out and get back to you.
And again, there's a lot of details, but the call for applications document is 9 pages, and I recommend that you carefully read through that because we did. Basically, these slides probably went through very quickly, but a lot of these details, they're all in those 9 pages.
Hi, I'm Jerica Knotts. I'm in the Division of Child and Adolescent Psychiatry. Not sure if you'll have an exact question for this yet, since the landscape on it is ever changing. But a lot of my work focuses on cultural responsiveness. And so the question that I have right now is the extent to which that can be incorporated in my application.
So I have an opinion about it, but you're right. We don't know the unknown about what's happening through the NIH and other levels. This is an internal granting process. So it's not something where it's going to go to NIH. And so I think Megan might have to help me out with this, but that with all of the kind of chaotic things that we're hearing through NIH and federal agencies, I don't think it's going to be as affected. So in other words, if you are looking at communities of color, you're looking at culture, you're looking at other biases, I think that those would be perfectly acceptable. We on our campus understand inequity, where it resides in so many different factors for determinants of health that it requires study. And so I would say that that is perfectly appropriate. Now, whether or not in the 2 years, when you get to the end of the 2 years, whether or not that would be successful as a K award, an NIH independent K award, that would be a different question. I would hope that we would probably have much clearer answers by that time. I don't think that kind of social determinants of health and other things will have changed such that we won't be interested in it. So anyways, that's kind of the way that I would answer that question.
Yeah, I have a similar response. I think the university is very much interested in that type of research, and our commitment to diversity and equity remains a core value. At the point where you're gathering data or submitting your K to NIH, I think you'll probably want to take a close look at what the climate is and what's going to be fundable.
Makes sense. Thank you.
That answer makes me a little sad to say, but I think that's the reality that we're all dealing with.
The times we're in.
And ultimately, we want you to be successful and want to help you get there.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Yeah.
My name is Robin. I'm an assistant professor in the Department of OBGYN. You mentioned that the application to the MS or the certificate program as part of the K12 process, is that a mandatory requirement for the award? The application?
Yes. So the expectation is that our scholars are pursuing additional education. And so we would expect them to be pursuing a master's or certificate. In the event that there's already been additional training, we can accept a personalized training plan for you.
And also another question, quick, you mentioned the K23. Does it have to be K23 or can it be any K award like a K01?
Yes, I think any K, but there are many acceptable grants. Obviously an R01 would be wonderful as well, but it's any of the Ks, right, Dr. Chen?
That's right. I think any of those Ks are pretty much equivalent to one another. There is a K that's a mid-level career award. That's not what we're talking about, but the other K awards, yes.
Okay. Thank you very much.
I think Emily, you came off of you turned on your video. Did you have a question first?
Yeah, I do have a question. So I'm a postdoctoral fellow, but you mentioned that postdoctoral fellows that have a pending faculty appointment, would you just include that in the nomination letter if you were applying? Is that?
So your situation is that you're currently a postdoc and you anticipate a faculty appointment soon.
I mean, potentially yeah. I mean, I've been working on trying to acquire independent funding.
Okay.
It's a little bit of a chicken versus the egg in terms of this kind of, so the letter of support, your conditions have to be that your faculty appointment cannot be contingent upon this award. So it does need that your letter clearly describe that you are going to have the faculty appointment. It's a little bit more definitive in saying that, again, you must have the faculty appointment. I don't know if it's guaranteed but it has to be in place in your letter of support stated for you to be eligible for the K12 rather than just being nominated, which would not be, I think, strong enough. And Megan, I think you've dealt with this as well. I think that we do need to have strong language that really provides that level of support.
Yes, exactly what you said. We have had past applicants that were in the process. Their department was already in the process of hiring them as a faculty member. So just to reiterate, it can't be contingent. It does get a little bit tricky, but yes, I think as long as the language is clear that this was that it is pending.
And does the research associate level, is that is that eligible as faculty?
So is it assistant? It's up to assistant professor. Aaron or Wilbur, can you take that one? I can pull up the RFA just to verify.
I'm
Yeah, I'm trying to
searching through
remember.
it right now.
And so it's a full-time junior faculty up to assistant professor. In my mind, I'm pretty sure that the research associate level satisfies that condition.
Okay.
Yeah.
I had another question, but if someone else has questions, I don't know.
Okay, why don't we pivot over to Vandana? I think you had your hand raised for a while.
Hi there, thank you. So I'm asking this question just to understand the landscape for our faculty in the College of Engineering and IT, and I'm representing the college interest in this program. So there are several faculty who do research in computational aspects, let's say epidemiology and AI. They're more focused on AI algorithms for epidemiology, and they may already have a PhD in, let's say, AI or computer science. I'm trying to understand the additional training element for them. What would be the expectation that I think I heard something like a self-paced training or like a training that is designed for them. So it's not necessarily a degree that they have to do, but it could be something different for folks like that.
It could be, it's often a degree, but maybe something like the Masters of Science in Clinical Research would be appropriate for someone coming in with a more computational background. And there's other degrees as well that might be a good opportunity for them to learn more about the clinical side of things.
Yeah, I think it's to help round out the individual. So if they're very much, again, heavy in computational science, they may not have the epidemiology or the biostatistics or, again, clinical research ethics, didactic training. And so those would be things that they could gain through a certificate program or a patchwork of coursework and some other things that could also help them to be, again, an improved candidate overall. So we're trying to not make this kind of a burden, but it also is a way to force an individual to gain additional skills that they may not have acquired elsewhere. So.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
Emily, we can go back to you. I think you had another question.
Actually, that was related to my second question because my training is in epidemiology. So, I was, wondering what exactly, and I've also taken probably a lot of the required coursework for some of those. But if you were to, I guess if you were planning on doing a certificate or something like the IDP, is that something that we would work, like, how do you know that, would we work with you to put together a program that would potentially be approved as continuing training or?
Yeah, and I think you would look at your career goals for yourself and where that's leading you as far as additional training goes. Perhaps if you're trained as an epidemiologist with your PhD, maybe you'd be interested in clinical informatics or certificate in clinical informatics or something like that would appeal to you. Or it might be something else. So I think there are a lot of opportunities for training, for additional education that exist here at UMB that you might not have considered yet.
Yeah, I mean, my training, it probably would be going the other direction from what she was describing. Maybe
Right.
The informatics sort of skills. Yeah.
And it could be, again, if your research is taking you into a new direction in which genomics or some other thing, then again, you would want to take hold of that and just take advantage of whatever didactic training or other hands-on type of training. So if there's a national workshop that's well known, that is a week or 2 week kind of intensive training that would really help you with your research and take you to a different area that you haven't had the opportunity to enjoy yet and give you those skills, that's kind of the thing that you might want to describe. So again, we're trying to make an umbrella kind of process in which we are requiring people to have some level of coursework training or something that helps them. But ultimately, what we want to do is give them the ability to have extra training and research experience and the mentorship all in one. So for some people, they may not need as much of the didactic training. Some people do. Some people are coming in as just clinicians that have not done kind of formal research before and need to gain those skills. So that's why it's hard to generalize, but I think that you can think about your own career and where you are, what skills you have, and what you would like to gain. So I think that's the way you want to think about it.
Thank you.
And I'm putting a few ideas in the chat. So the first link, well, the most recent link at 338 is a list of all programs in the School of Graduate Studies, and then a few that have been of interest to previous and current scholars.
If there's another, I have another question if I can clarify. So just trying to understand the breakdown of the funding as we give this information to our faculty. So there is funding and then there's some expectation for the matching, which I think I understand, and I'll follow up with Carl about that. In terms of the commitment for additional training, how would they cover the funding for, let's say, if they want to do a new certificate at UMB, UMBC faculty are going up to UMB for the certificate, how would that be covered?
Megan, you want to cover?
Yeah,
Tuition as part of this, as an employee of the state of Maryland, we get 8 credits tuition remission automatically.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that is where a large part of it is. Now for the fees, course fees, I think that's what ICTR would be covering.
Yep. So exactly that. The tuition remission, and that's the other thing. If there's a program at one of the other USM schools, so if a UMBC wants to take at UMB or UMB wants to take at UMBC or College Park, we've had that. Obviously the remission is eligible, as long as tuition remission is eligible at the institution, the ICTR will cover the fees associated with those.
That's great.
And I want to
Thank you.
reiterate what Wilbur just mentioned is that even if you're not awarded this grant, you still, as a UMB employee, have those 8 credits of tuition, and you can take courses in any of these and almost any of these programs as a non-degree student. If something looks interesting to you, you can sign up for that, even if you're not awarded this, and take that course as a non-degree student. You can sign up for a program and take the courses in a way that falls below that threshold, so you're receiving the full benefit, and the program is very inexpensive.
That's wonderful. Thank you.
Don't be afraid to ask questions.
So I guess my recommendation is to really read that RFA carefully, see if you're eligible and interested in pursuing this opportunity. It's been lovely speaking with you today, and we do welcome questions afterwards. I think you have all the contact information you could ever want. They're in the chat if you want to quick download that. We'll be on for a few more minutes.
Thank you again.
All right, thank you. Good to see you, Emily.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There is a question from Margaret Connolly that we mentioned statistical support resources are available. Could we clarify these resources, what these resources include?
Um,
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
no, Wilbur, I was just gonna mention that the biostatistics core services are available to any faculty member, whether you apply or awarded the K up to 25 free hours. If as long as you're a faculty member, submit the resource request form through the ICTR. But sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt what you were gonna say.
No, I was going to say, recognize this K12 program is under the umbrella of a institute, the ICTR, Institute for Clinical and Translational Research, which actually provides a lot of other kind of support. So in addition to the statistical support, which Megan just covered, and what you were asking for, there's also like the studio program, which you can apply for free. And basically that will give you kind of like a small study section to evaluate your grant submission. So when you're ready for that, there are other kind of support systems that are in place with ICTR. There are also other small funds grants that are kind of you might be able to apply for as well throughout the year. So there's a lot of other support mechanisms. The K12 mechanism is one of them that's specifically built around trying to provide, junior faculty mentorship and training for your career growth. But there are other things as well, even for more senior faculty members that would be applying. So I want you to look at it kind of broadly. You can see the link Megan just provided. And I think that also describes to you other support systems that are in place that you would be able to enjoy as well, whether you're in the K12 program or not.
Any other questions for us? All right, well, good luck with your application.
Yes, thank you for attending.
Yep. Take care, everyone.